Welcome to Slow Unpacking, where we unpack magic, but take our sweet time with it. Today we unpack a booster from Throne of Eldraine, the Plane of Fairy Tales. Witch's Cottage by Gabor Szikszai. Last week we ended up with an island in Sandegard that was underwater. This house seems to be below swamp level. Here we know a witch is at work. Imagine wading through the swamp with land nowhere around you. Crickets are having their fun, and then you notice some lights up ahead. You probably move towards it, only to find that you have been captured by this witch and you have been brought to life, which means you already were dead. Two other kids did survive though. They are Will and Rowan, the twin planeswalkers from here. I think that is the very fun flavor for this land. It is like an anglerfish. I will spare you the picture of that being. I want to take your attention to a really important format called Pauper. A format where you make the coolest decks with the constraint of your cards being common. The format never rotates. This is what my friend Dragthief Pauper says about it, and his Twitter is in the description. Quote, Witch's Cottage would be an example of a great card for Pauper, because it is essentially a free animation tool and it's a swamp for your Defile synergies. Merfolk Secretkeeper by Jana Schirmer. Flavor: Merfolk curiosity usually has dire consequences, but rarely for the Merfolk. I spared you from the picture of the anglerfish just to show you this Merfolk that has lured in another human and is dragging this person down deeper into the kelp. Did you know that you can get stuck in kelp as well? Well, this particular push of it was your doom anyways. Merfolk are curious, and it leads them to causing mischief in the most evil of ways. Black is not the only color that does not care too much about your feelings. This Merfolk will lure you in a little too deep. Rimrock Knight by Rallis. This ability almost reads like a flavor text. Rimrock Knight cannot block. It's dashing away from boulders, so it will not have the time to defend you. If you let it attack someone else though, the rocks will do some damage. It can also make other creatures attack for just as much. In general, dwarves are 1/1s, this one is a 3/1 because it is buffed by the falling rocks by 2 attack. It will do so for other creatures as well. What a good friend. Would you like to work together with this Rimrock Knight? Would you work together with anyone with Rimrock in his name? Festive Funeral by Zack Stella. Flavor: even as we mourn the last, we look to the next with joy. Hopefully my new suitor will bring the Cauldron home. By Ayara, first of Locthwain. Zack made Calliphy from the Theros Unpacking. Look at how similar her vibe is when you match her with Ayara. Both slender women with a lot of style who have been revered for their actions. Ayara is revered for other actions than protecting people at sea though. I would say that she is another kind of lantern. One of those that lure in people, like the one from Witch's Cottage. The elves of Eldraine were there first, before the 5 kingdoms were erected. They stood for the right of the strongest and let magic spoil freely. Ayara still embodies these values. Now look at the name of this card. Her people are celebrating this funeral. This is because these suitors are lured in by being the king of Locthwain, but they have to find the Cauldron of Eternity first. They never return though, and meanwhile Ayara seems to already live eternally. Malevolent Noble by Randy Vargas. Flavor: he has slain a dozen witches, luring each with a promise of fresh children's bones. At first I doubted whether this man sacrificed his bait or not, but then I looked closer, as always, and saw that the clawing hands behind him were very witch-like. This man knows not to go into the witches' swamps. He knows that you have to lure them out, and that is the only way to defeat them. He grows in strength from all the people that he has slain. At this point in the story, he has already gained 12 power and toughness, so he might be able to keep all of Eldraine safe. Raging Redcap by Dan Scott. Flavor: many tales of Redcap terror begin with 2 simple things: bloodlust and stolen steel. This goblin has had his weapons stolen from him. But wait, he is holding 2 at this moment. Well, In goblin language, that means that this goblin just stole 2 other swords from another goblin. These redcaps will never know rest. If this art does not strike you as very fairy tale like, it is because it is not supposed to be. Redcaps are outcasts and they live outside the realm, which is what the 5 lands of Eldraine are called. Ayara is the queen of one of those realms. Redcaps are chaotic and only want to create chaos. They are the epitome of goblin culture. I do understand why the people of the realm want to keep these guys out, but there must be a way to work together, right? I mean, this one is a knight, he must be useful for something. Outflank from Victor Adam Minguez. Flavor: with the drum of hooves and the flash of blades, the monster's terrifying roar changed to a cry of fear. Legends of the Gilded Knights. The interesting part about this conditional removal spell is its flavor. It is one of the 3 or maybe 4 cards that mention the legend of the Gilded Knights, or the Gilded Knights at all. Stormfist Crusader says, as she reached the pinnacle of lightning flashed and her eyes blazed with newfound power. And Crashing Drawbridge says, the northern beacon flared and even before the drawbridge finished its descent, the knights charged out. I interpret this as the legends being propaganda for how great the Gilded Knights are. They are seen in white, black and red, so it will not be focused in one realm though. One other character associated with the word gilded is the Gilded Goose. No, I meant King Kenrith, who had gotten his gilded sword from the questing beast, which he hung up when peace was restored in the 5 realms of the 5 colors that are on his card. Fel the Pheasant by Randy Gallegos. Flavor: a keen eye and steady hand are essential for defeating most foes, including hunger. By Sir Grandfire, Knight of Garenbrick. Grandfire is no one special, although every Knight of Garenbrick must first show a feat of strength that is disproportionate to their size, so this man is pretty strong at least. Garenbrick is a huge region, ruled by a giant. Its main virtue is strength, as long as you use it to protect those who lack it. Fel the Pheasant shows us someone felling an animal to feed others who cannot hunt as well. The card kills a bird and then leaves food. Simple but logical in the set and environment. Charmed Sleep by Titus Lunter. Remember in how many fairy tales the whole town was put to sleep? In this case, the whole town is awake, except for the dragon. Imagine living in a town where the rule is to be as silent as possible in order to not wake the dragon. This is that town and it is terrifying. What I love about this art is that we can actually see the charm. Here it is depicted as a smooth cloud of pink coming from the dragon. I think that is accurate, as sleep seems very pink. Foreboding Fruit by Drew Baker. Imagine walking through the swamp from before and you see a table. On it lies an almost golden pear. Would you eat it? No, definitely not. The person in this card eats it though, and then there is something interesting. If enough black mana is used, a curse is set in place that is almost equal to that of the witch from Hansel and Gretel. The food is eaten and it is immediately replaced by a new pear. Now that is foreboding, but only for us, so the people in Eldraine might still eat this. Forever. Archon of Absolution by Igor Kiervluk. We have seen Igor in Ravnica with Nixilus Cruelty. Here we see a different cruel being. Archons are flying mounts. They often play in stacks ways and stand for the rigidity and laws of the color white. In Eldraine their task used to be to protect the people from goblins. White can be evil, like blue, and these Archons are rather evil for forcing the goblins out without a word. I think Absolution here stands for this Archon's overly active sense of justice. It is in a way absolute, because this creature totally follows its own rules and nothing else. Now for some less controversial topics, notice how there is a person sitting on this reindeer Pegasus, and how its spear is in the shape of its antlers. That's pretty cool. Cauldron's Gift by Anna Steinbauer. Here is the Cauldron again, this time finishing up our story. Here we are shown how the Cauldron takes gifts in order to give life to others. Ayara had knights come to the Cauldron, where they disappeared. My theory is that they were fed to the Cauldron so that Ayara can live forever. She had no intention to actually love these knights. I want to take your attention away from this horrible story to the art, which is not very detailed here as there was no full version of it, but look at Anna's other art and how amazing it is. Multiple very detailed planeswalkers, a vampire that looks more like Dracula than Dracula himself, and a piece of art that looks so Egyptian that you forget it is from Amonkhet. Improbable Alliance by Zoltan Boros. Flavor? I agreed to light his way as long as he always had my back. Zoltan again? By this point it seems like Zoltan makes every piece of art there is. I feel like we know his style by now. Whimsical and exactly how you expect Magic to look. These two have each other's back, I would say, but this is so whimsical, I almost can't believe they made this. This pixie agreed to be someone's lantern. Not the one that lures like an anglerfish, but the kind that guides your way. It guides him through Mistfort, a place in the wilds that I do not think we know a lot about. Wicked Wolf from Tomasz Jedruszek. Here I want to take your attention away to another friend who is from Instagram. He tells us about the real life animals that are in Magic the Gathering. Their name is MTG Field Guide and will be in the description as well. Wolves are a staple in fairy tales, where they are aggressive, but listen to this from Field Guide. Quote, wolf pups are born in the spring or early summer to a pair of monogamous parents who will share the responsibilities of feeding and protecting their young. But life as a wolf pup isn't easy. Disease, malnutrition and other predators kill about 50% of wolves before they reach 1 year old. End quote. So when you next see a wolf, know that they aren't the monsters we believe them to be. They are fearless but not aggressive, not as long as we respect their rules. But aren't we all? If you want more great analysis of real animals in Magic cards, then please take a look at the MTG Field Guide's Instagram. Swamp from Darken. Here we see one of the most interesting lands we have seen up to this point, where we see fairy lights throughout the land. We see banners of fighting, probably from the people fighting the creatures of the wilds here, as most of the realms are mostly at peace with each other. We see a desolate land, where a fight used to be. This place reminds us of the magic that was once free under the rule of the elves and how it might never return, if not for Ayara or Oko, of course. Human Cleric token by Suzanne Helmigh. This is an interesting token, as it is made for just one card. Not like Embalm, but still interesting. The card we are talking about here is Outlaw's Merriment, a group of Robin Hood-like people, all with different roles that mostly do not fit in society, like rogues and way too aggressive warriors. A cleric would have fit in a peaceful society though, if not for the random potion that this one is offering us. What is in that vial? We don't know. He does. Thank you for watching. I have noticed some more traction, so you watching this is a little less weird, which I think should be comforting. I will be back next week, even if you don't comment, but I would love to get in touch here, so let me know what you liked and did not like about this video.